The following program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit absoluteloans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to The Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, September 26th show. I am your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I provide you news on everything money, fresh information on market trends and conditions in our local economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have in studio today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for studio today, Vincent Humphrey with Humphrey Associates PLLC, what you need to know or how you protect your assets if you're going through a divorce. Also in studio, I have Justin Richards with Keller Williams Realty Bellevue. Great questions you should be asking your real estate professional before you hire them. And last guest in studio, Sondra Earley with Mama Associates, here to talk on Medicare and share information that could be important to you when it comes to Medicare. Great information and great guest in studio. For more information on any of the topics that you hear discussed today, please call into the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And let's go ahead and start out the show as always with a little money chat. Money. Getting a home mortgage is continuing to get a little easier, so it's great news. This is my arena, so it's excited to talk about qualifications for a mortgage and how it is getting easier. There's been a lot of talk about how difficult it is to get a home mortgage in today's lending environment. However, 3 recent reports have revealed that lending standards are beginning to ease. That's great news for both first-time home buyers, current homeowners that are looking to move up. If you're looking at purchasing second homes, vacation property, it's good news for anybody that wants to get a mortgage. The MBA's Mortgage Credit Availability Index. Now, this index issued by mortgage banks or banker associations measures the availability of credit available in home mortgage market. A decline in the mortgage credit availability index indicates that lending standards are tightening, while increasing in the index are revealing a loosening of credit. What we've seen in the index this year has been increasing very nicely over the year. Now, Fannie Mae's latest mortgage lender sentiment survey. Now, this survey revealed that mortgage lenders report that mortgage lending standards across all loan types are easing. The survey asked senior mortgage executives whether their company's credit standards have eased, tightened, or remained essentially unchanged during the prior 3 months. Now, the gap between lenders reporting easing as opposed to tightening over the prior 3 months jumped approximately 20%. This represented in new survey high of net easing. In addition, the share of lenders who expected their organizations to ease credit standards over the next 3 months also ticked up this quarter. Now, Doug Duncan, Senior Vice President and Chief Economist at Fannie Mae, addresses this easing of standards and states. For the first time in 7 quarters, we see a pronounced increase in the share of lenders, particularly medium and larger size lenders, reporting on the easing of credit standards. This is a significant result in light of public discourse on credit availability and standards. Overall, we accept that the lender's tendency towards easing credit standards today with relatively low mortgage rates and strengthening labor market will continue to support the housing market expansion. Again, that was Doug Duncan, Senior Vice President and Chief Economist at Fannie Mae. Now, last report, Ellie Mae's latest Origination Insights reports the easing of standards is also confirmed in this report, which showed that the average FICO score on closed loan fell to the lowest point in well over a year. So keep an eye on the interest rates. Although this is all great news, that there was one challenge in the recent released data through Ellie Mae. It reported that the average interest rate on closed loans is beginning to inch up. So in January, average was 4.15, February 4.01, March 4.04, then it went up to 4.06, 4.01, 4.12, 4.29, and in August 4.31. So again, from February on, it's been inching up. So what does this mean to you if you are a first-time buyer, current homeowner thinking of moving up, looking at vacation, investment property, thinking of possibly refinancing? Now just may be the time to take some action. Mortgage lending standards are beginning to ease and interest rates inching up. So it sounds like it would be a great time to take advantage of the mortgage lending standards before the cost of money increases. That is my money chat coming up on the Money Hour. I hope that you're not facing divorce, but if you are, you need to know how to protect your assets. I have Vincent Humphrey with Humphrey Associates PLLC right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Are you turning 65? New to Medicare or disabled? You probably have a lot of questions. I'm Sondra Earley, a trusted Medicare sales advisor. As a broker, I can provide a variety of Medicare plan options to fit your personal health care needs, lifestyle, and budget. I can help you get the quality coverage you want and the personal service you deserve. Call me at 425-455-1406, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to schedule an in-home appointment, a seminar, or phone consultation. I'll take the time to listen and truly understand your needs and the situation behind your questions. Call me at 425-455-1406, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. He weighed 1 pound, 7 ounces. His lungs weren't ready, his heart wasn't ready, his brain wasn't ready. At the hospital, the nurses said Daniel was a fighter, and they would do all they could to help him. The doctor said even with the best care, Daniel may never walk. He may never see. He may never learn. Daniel's parents spent night after night at the hospital, watching his every breath, holding his tiny hands, and looking for signs that he was growing stronger. At home, his parents looked around Daniel's empty nursery, at the quiet toys and the still rocker, and they hoped that one day they could sit in that rocking chair and tell this story to their very healthy son. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year, but there's hope for a happy ending. The March of Dimes is funding the research and programs to stop premature birth. You can help bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 26th show, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it can affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. You can ask any questions of the guest I have in studio. You can go to the website and search almost any topic on money that you want, and most likely you will find one of my guest segments. So great guest always on the show, and I'm excited to have back in studio Vincent Humphrey with Humphrey Associates. Vincent, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, taking us to commercial. I said, hopefully none of my listeners are getting divorced, but sometimes that does happen. And we did, last time I had you in studio, we talked about real estate and divorce proceedings. So that was a really interesting conversation I had a chance to talk with you about. And today we're going to focus on divorce and how to protect your assets, which is also pretty important if you're going through that. A little background on Vincent. Vincent is attorney at Humphrey Associates, which focuses on family law, real estate, and civil litigation. His passion is in bringing in justice and clarity for everyday working man and woman. Vincent was just awarded Outstanding Young Lawyer of the Year by Washington State Bar Association for 2015. I wouldn't make the Young Mortgage Professional of the Year, but maybe the getting closer to 50 Mortgage Professional of the Year. He is the only one out of 8,000 possible attorneys to gain this honor. And I know I thanked you last time, or congratulated you last time, Vincent, but congratulations again. What an award to receive. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vincent also holds a Juris Doctorate degree from University of Idaho College of Law, a Bachelor in Science, Political Science for University of Washington. He has over 15 years of mediation and negotiation training, which he has gained through intensive classes on the job situations. Vincent has advised companies and overseen transactions over $100 million. Furthermore, he's skilled set has allowed him to cancel many companies. Chair of Washington Young Lawyers Committee, where he leads a third of all lawyers in Washington State for career development and enhancement. So you like to provide back and provide educations to your colleagues, which is awesome as well, Vincent. So let's go ahead and start out with, let's just say one of my listeners is going through a divorce and may be asking, where do I even start when it comes to protecting my assets?
Absolutely. I think some of the best advice when it comes to this particular question is to have your end goal in mind. What is it that you're trying to get? What is it that you are trying to gain? What is your objective? Because if you don't have one, there's a lot of people that will give you their own personal advice, their own personal anecdotes, their own stories, and that might not fit your particular situation. So prioritizing what is most important and knowing what it is that you want to get out of that. That way, if you are seeking legal help, or if you're going to be proceeding pro se or by yourself, you know what it is that you're trying to get and that you don't get mired in side squabbles or other things that aren't necessarily relevant to your overall objective. So starting with the end in mind, and also trying to articulate in your own mind as well as verbally, where do you want to see yourself after it's all over? How do you project yourself to be living? Where are you going to be living? So starting with the end in mind and then being able to take substantive steps to get to that objective.
Makes total sense. Like anything else that we do in our life, really taking a whole look of what that looks like and a whole picture to figure out the best things to do.
And it's really easy to get sucked into small things when you're dealing with your children or your house. It gets very personal. I say, it's not business. This is personal and beyond personal. And so being able to understand that those emotions and the things that you are feeling are very valid, but being able to try to step back as objectively as possible to see through that lens.
Makes total sense. So what can someone do, Vincent, to get some immediate protection on their assets?
Yeah, there are a couple different ways. One of them, there's a thing called ex parte, and all that means is really, for the person or for the people, and it allows you to go into the court, and it's a fancy way of saying that it is possible to be able to go into the court immediately and to seek temporary orders, temporary restraining orders, or if there is domestic violence at play, you can go and get a domestic violence protection order. And that's something, when I say immediate, I mean you can do that today if you are within the certain time frames of the court. Obviously, the court's not 24/7.
Sure.
But if you're in a situation where, you need access to things or there are dangerous situations at play, you're able to go in front of a judge and say, I need a restraining order. I need this money protected. I need these bank accounts frozen. I need this person to stay away, or I need this particular access. And so those are things that can happen very immediate.
Okay. And so how do the courts determine, what are they looking at to determine who's going to get what?
Yeah. And, we are a community property state, and I've said that before on this show. And so a lot of times that invokes isn't that just 50-50? It just split down the middle. But that's not the case. The courts look at a ton of different things when it comes to splitting assets, from real estate to pensions to retirement accounts. And they're looking at, how long have you been married, right? A marriage that's, let's say, 1 year is treated differently than a marriage of 35 years.
Makes sense.
They're looking at a spouse's contribution. So whereas one might have stayed home and been a homemaker and the other was working consistently, the courts understand that. And so they're looking at that as well. And so just because one party is working and the other might be taking care of the children or the family pets, the court looks at that. They're looking at education, background, credentials, the spouse that might not have been working, they're looking at what sort of marketable skills do they have. And they also understand that if you've been out of the market, so if there's a listener out there that says, this is me, I haven't worked in about 15 years, I've stayed home, the kids are out of the house now, and I'm trying to now reconstruct my life thereafter, the courts understand that. And so they're going to look at, well, what is your background in? And if you haven't worked in a while, the court's going to look at that. So it's not necessarily as cut and dry as, well, it's 50-50 straight down the middle. And so, and also health. If you have a disability or something that is preventing you from being gainfully employed, the courts are going to consider that as well. So the court is trying to do...
So to make sense. Yeah. Really to see what makes sense and to really be there to make it fair for both parties as much as they can.
Yes.
So let's say that they, you gotta go out there and fight, Vincent, to really get what you think is your fair share. Isn't that pretty spendy going through that process?
I get that question a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Am I better off just letting it go, or should I fight this?
Right. Isn't there just a YouTube video that I can watch to figure this thing out, or a quick Google search? Again, people tend to dig their heels in on two major areas, and that's going to be their property or their kids, right? People say, hands up. It's all out war, and family members will support that, right? They'll loan money for the kids or the house. And so what I say is, again, it comes back down to your goals. I've had clients and I've seen in the court different people that don't really have a goal, and they make it more about the fight versus the outcome that they're trying to hurt the other person via litigation versus if it's the house or if it is a certain amount of money that you're looking to receive. If you're going to be litigating that and spending that on attorneys, you're not necessarily in the best position. I won't say that litigation is always bad, because it absolutely has its merits. But again, understanding, is this something that I really want to get? And also, when it comes to how much are you spending, always educate yourself before you go, as much as possible, before you see an attorney, or if you are going into the courthouse, or even if you pay for a consultation with an attorney or a legal professional. It matters, because I've seen people, I kid you not, that have been to court 5, 6, 7 times because they couldn't figure out how to get something filed. And I'm saying, if you're taking off work and you're in that cycle, it would have made so much more sense to have sat down and had somebody show you. Absolutely. It matters so much. And you just frustrate the judges when they see you.
Of course. And you want the judges on your side.
As much as possible.
Yes, as much as possible. And, that's the whole, I'm glad that you mentioned in hiring expert advice. That's the whole purpose of this show. The reason I started the Money Hour, the reason it's called the Money Hour, is really to bring in elite, the best of the best experts in all area regarding my listeners' finances, because I believe that you have to hire an expert for all of these areas, because it's going to save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of stress. And especially when we're talking about going through something that's an emotional process as, going through a divorce. So what are some alternative options, Vincent, for my listeners rather than litigation?
Yeah. In
protecting their assets.
One of the most streamlined is what's called a joinder, when two parties just simply agree. If you agree, the court's not going to get involved unless obviously there's a situation you can't agree to something that's criminal and say, hey, you want to do this, I want to do that too, let's agree to that. It's always hands off.
Has to be legal.
Absolutely.
Got it.
But if you have come together with your partner or spouse and you say, here's how I want to divide the property, if you get this share and you get this particular percentage, if that's fair between the two of you, the court is going to say, well, that's okay. You still have to wait the mandated 90 days before it can be finalized, but that is the most easy way. And so, that comes down to, are you giving away too much? Are you, negotiating against yourself? And that's, again, as you articulated earlier, where you might need to get a professional to say, hey, is this even fair?
Exactly.
But if you feel that it is, there's a form and it's called a joinder, and you sign, or the other person signs, and you say, all right, I'm in agreement 100% with everything that's here. You wait the mandated 90 days, you go in, and you guys are out of there. The other one is mediation. I'm a big advocate for mediation in certain situations, and that's just an opportunity for two people to sit down with a neutral third party and have hopefully their experience within family law, so they can give you kind of advice here and there as to what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And so mediation is something that I'd say, you know what, you should do it early and as often as possible. In fact, in King County and some of the others as well, it's mandated that you have alternative dispute resolution. And so I say the earlier you can get in to sit down with somebody and just walk through all of those issues, or as many as you can. Not that you're going to agree on everything, but if you start off with 50 different things that you can't agree to and you can narrow that down to maybe 10 or 5, that cuts out so much litigation, because now you're concerned about 5 things versus 50.
Makes total sense. Now, what if assets get drained by this, the spouse prior to? I mean, how do you fix that? Or can you?
Well, if they've taken it, it's gone. Most likely it's gone. But what you want to do is, if you can document it, and if you can say, hey, we had this amount in this particular account, I know it's there, and you present that to the court, they're familiar with that as well. I've seen those situations where one spouse prepares for divorce and just drains all of the bank accounts. I'm
sure that happens more
all the time.
Often than, all
the time. And
so they're smart enough to go, okay, there was this money in here, and then the courts are going to make that right.
Absolutely. So what you want to do is be able to present that in front of a judicial officer, and they don't take too highly to those situations.
Yeah, I'm sure they would not. We've got a minute, and then I got to take us to break, Vincent. So, what would I want to leave my listeners with a tip here? What do you tell them to do?
We'll leave with this. If you've been thinking about, going through this, how should you prepare? A couple of things right here. You want to research the process, get as much education as you can before you see an attorney or somebody that you trust. So research as much as you can about the process. Come with your questions in hand and start with the end in mind. Thank you.
Great advice, Vincent. Thank you so much for coming back in studio. Look forward to having you again. My only attorney representative that I have come, outside of some estate planning, but I just appreciate your time so much.
So glad to be here, Tina. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Coming up next to the Money Hour, what should you ask a real estate professional before you actually hire them? Justin Richards with Keller Williams Realty Bellevue right here on 1150 AM KK and W after the short break.
Are you turning 65, new to Medicare, or disabled? You probably have a lot of questions. I'm Sondra Earley, a trusted Medicare sales advisor. As a broker, I can provide a variety of Medicare plan options to fit your personal health care needs, lifestyle, and budget. I can help you get the quality coverage you want and the personal service you deserve. Call me at 425-455-1406, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to schedule an in-home appointment, a seminar, or phone consultation. I'll take the time to listen and truly understand your needs and the situation behind your questions. Call me at 425-455-1406, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Getting support from friends online kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
Instead of smoking after I ate, I'd get up and take a walk.
I missed having a cigarette in my hand, so I'd hold a pen or a straw, anything.
Until I knew I wouldn't give in to temptation, I spent more time with my friends who didn't smoke.
I went to places that were smoke-free.
I didn't stay quit the very first time I tried.
I kept on trying, and I learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
I quit.
I quit.
I quit.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
The 1,200,000 women and men of Rotary have accomplished extraordinary things. They've taught millions of people to read, worked toward world peace, and have nearly eradicated a crippling childhood disease from the face of the planet. But each of those 1,200,000 women and men know they could accomplish so much more if only they were 1,200,001. Find out what an impact one person can make. Learn about Rotary at Rotary.org.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to The Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, September 26th show. It is always a great day to talk money. That's why I'm here, and that's the purpose of the show, how to make money, save money, build a better quality of life for you, and more importantly, to your family. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast to talk with any of the guests that I have in studio, or any questions for myself, any topic suggestions, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, back again, Justin Richards with Keller Williams Realty Bellevue. Important questions that you need to know to ask your realtor before you hire him. And I think this is always a fun thing to know, Justin, in any profession is, what do I ask? How do I find out if they're a good person to be able to represent me? And so I'm excited to have this topic with you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Tina, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And a little background on Justin. Born and raised in Seattle, Washington, Justin has made residential real estate marketing, acquisition, and resale his professional focus dating back to 2005. With more than 10 years in real estate and proven system for client success, Justin and his team have built a preeminent business practice guiding management and executive level clientele in the greater Puget Sound through home selling and buying process. His background allows for unique and compelling insight into the real estate process, contract negotiation, and overall community knowledge. Real estate is not a 9-to-5 job. It's 24/7 year-round professional operation that Justin and members of his team run at a very high level. And again, Justin, I'm excited about this topic and on questions to ask your realtor. And I think the first thing, I know I've had a lot of my clients in my mortgage practice that have told me that they are planning on working with a coworker or somebody that goes to their church that's doing this part-time. And I think, oh my gosh, that what should I be thinking, Justin? That's not a good thing, right?
Right. Well, the reality of it is I'll be the first to tell you that there are good part-time real estate agents out there, right? They're rare. I'll be very straightforward. It is rare. And that when you're working with a professional in this industry, especially with arguably the biggest asset that you might ever spend your money on, you want to have somebody that is operating in the business 7 days a week, year round, that understands, the ins and outs of not only, the changes in the marketplace from, the residential level, but working in the finance side of it as well. And so it's not to say that a part-time person may not know that. There are, like I said, there are rare occasions, that they have, corporate opportunities that are a nice fit with the real estate industry. But in the big picture, though, you want somebody that's in it every single day. I
totally agree. You need to be 100% committed to this profession and any profession, really. So what about it? Let's talk about asking their experience, or how many clients that they work with, and what's their capacity? How do they handle more? Can you talk on that a little bit?
Well, one of the most important things is every real estate transaction is different, right? So experience is gained basically in every transaction you do. So it's not to say that a newer agent, might not know a little bit about what they're talking about, but when you talk to a professional in real estate, especially for the residential side, you want somebody that's been around for a while, that has gone through some of the market changes, that can speak fluently on those, and at the same time has also represented both sides of the transaction, right? And real estate agents have a tendency to wear a number of different hats, right? There is a little bit of the sales side of it. There's some hand-holding. There's the counseling. There's a lot of that, right? And so, again, every transaction is a little bit different. So I always suggest that when a consumer is looking to hire a broker to either help them with a purchase or a sale, talk to more than one, right? I personally love having the opportunity to be the second or third person in line. It's not to say that I won't take somebody that's come to me and said, wow, I really enjoy working with you, because that certainly happens also. But I also want somebody to understand the value that we bring to the table versus maybe somebody else that they might have interacted with.
Makes total sense. And sitting down with an agent that doesn't have the same level of commitment and expertise that you do, they will pick up on that pretty quickly. Now, and also in number of clients that you've worked with, and your experience has a big deal with the rest of the real estate community, they're going to be looking at those offers on the listing side. So your experience in the industry and how many transactions that you've done in the community is really important as well.
Absolutely, right. So coming from a team perspective, right? So I operate a small team here in Bellevue, and we have a number of different agents that are on the team with us at this point in time. And so, they're having different interactions with clients on an everyday basis, right?
Yes.
And some are more experienced than others, frankly. And so, we're able to, if you will, pool that, right? And we can have a very powerful conversation with a consumer that says, when this particular marketplace, Bellevue, Kirkland, Issaquah, whatever it happens to be, that we've sold X number of homes over the last, say, 10 years, well, my career, that's usually the default number, right? And so, we can cover that with a client and say, these are the experiences that we had. This is our market time if it's a sale, for example, or this is what our percentage of list price to sale price was, either good or bad, whatever it happens to be, usually good, right?
Yes.
And so we can have that conversation, with an honest conversation with a consumer, and usually that leaves them feeling very comfortable that we are the right professional for them, because the reality of it is that most agents, I would say, can't provide that because they either A, don't know where to look for it, or they've never thought to look for it.
Yeah, and that's really important too, I think, Justin, what you mentioned on, ask them for their stats, find out, have them provide those numbers to you, so they, you've got that accountability there of exactly what they're doing. That's an awesome idea. And what about their experience in different types of properties, like condos and single family home, commercial, what about that?
Well, I think an agent should ask that, right? Because there are agents that are, let's say, specifically downtown Seattle agents, right? Where they will not cross Lake Washington to Bellevue, right? Or the other way around. You have a Bellevue agent that won't go across the pond to Seattle because they're either not comfortable, they don't want to deal with traffic, or they don't want they just don't know the marketplace in, the condo tower developments downtown.
Completely
they're not familiar with that, right? And that's also to say that you have luxury agents on the east side or in Seattle that have a very different way of operating their business, right? And that could be anything. So I always suggest to clients, and I always come right out with this, right? This is my focus, right?
Yes.
And we talk about that. But if, as a consumer, you should be asking, what do you focus on? If you're trying to portray yourself as a luxury broker, but your specialty is, let's say, the $300,000 to $1 million range, you're probably not the right fit for somebody that has a $5 million home to sell.
Exactly.
Right? And
makes sense.
Same goes the other way around too, right? If your focus is luxury, why in the world do you want a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 listing?
Yes.
Then you start asking questions. Why are you doing this, right?
Yes.
And so it's just one of the questions that's great. I mean, we're only covering I think 10 questions today. When the reality of it is we have a list of 35 or 40 questions that we like to cover with clients when we're meeting with them.
And so if you're listening to this, I mean, there's a whole list of questions that you need. And if you want these, just give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150, or you can call Justin directly. Justin, what's your contact number?
Best way to reach me is 425-765-8088, or through our website at teamrichardsrealty.com.
Perfect. He's got amazing information that he can share with you. Now, let's talk about recommendations or testimonials from clients that they have actually worked with in the past, buying and selling side.
Right. So again, one of the things that's really important in our world is the fact that other people have trusted us to help them invest in real estate, whether it be a true investment property through foreclosure, or it's something where it's their first time purchase. They're selling their home. We want to be able to answer to that experience in that scenario, right? So every time we sell a property, we actually go back to our customer, our client, and ask them for a referral, or I should say a reference in this case, right? To give us raw feedback, right? Tell us how we did, if there's a way that we can improve. Was it a smooth transaction? And it's very, very positive. I can tell you honestly, we have not actually had a bad review in my time frame in the business, right? And so I'm not saying
the business that you do over 10 years, that's amazing.
Well, it's client first, right? I mean, one of the things that's really powerful about Keller Williams is that we have a win-win or no deal way of doing business, right? And so if it's a bad, my moral compass is fairly healthy, and so if it's not a good deal for a client, whether it be buyer or seller, I'm not interested. I don't need to make a bad deal and put myself in, having to call Vincent and talk to an attorney about, a mistake that I made because I skipped my moral ground, right?
Sure.
And so it's very, very important. We've turned clients away in years past that have asked us to maybe go into a gray area that I wasn't wasn't comfortable with, or I should say we as the team weren't comfortable with. And so it's important to kind of cover that and not only understand who we are as a team, where we come from, but also for us to understand you as a buyer or a seller and what's your end goal.
Makes total sense. Now, what about knowledge? In how do you ask the question to find out their knowledge as far as what's happening in the industry? You know, it's a good time to buy, or...
This is probably the most powerful question in real estate, right? Because real estate is one of the highest paying careers that you can get into, but it also has the lowest barrier of entry, right? In order to get your real estate license in Washington State, it's a 90-hour course, and then boom, you take the test, and now you're licensed.
Unbelievable.
And that is, unfortunately, I think, a very bad way of doing things, right? I mean, if you talk to an attorney, Vincent in this case, who's on the show also, you know, he's gone through more schooling than you know I ever have in my life twice over, right? And he is a very, very good attorney. But I would also say that one of the things that's really powerful about real estate is it's kind of a school of hard knocks, meaning this is where the experience piece is, right? Is that you learn every single transaction, right? On how to better the business, better negotiate with other agents, better negotiate with and for your clients, right? And so from an education standpoint, education is something that we're required to do every 2 years, right? So the state requires us to go through continuing education courses. And so that's the minimum. So we always try to exceed the minimum however we can through other continuing education programs, whether that be, you know, national conferences, working with professional business development coaches, real estate professional coaches, things like that make us better in terms of providing great service for you as a client.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about, I think it'd be an important question as far as the process and communication and how they communicate with their clients. Is that true?
Well, communication is key, right? And so one of the things that I've taken over clients, I should say, in years past, where their issue with the broker that they were working with is once the contract was written, they didn't hear from them until they were at closing. And they got a call 3 days before closing, said, hey, guess what? Congratulations, we're almost done. Boom, done. That's the end of it, right? So I think that, I mean, knowing how I was when I bought my first home, I wanted to know what was going on.
Exactly.
Right? And so being able to work with a team of not only from the lender side, the real estate side, the title and escrow side, and then on top of that, there's also the support elements from a transactional level. So we want to make sure that we have constant contact from the time we write the offer to the time that's potentially accepted or declined. And then from there, be able to identify basically a roadmap to closing. Right? So that's really important. And I know we're running out of time, so I'll kind of shore that up a little bit. But it's very powerful to make sure we have good communication at all points in time.
Totally agree with that. And we do have 1 minute before I got to take us to commercial, Justin. Leave my listeners with one more question that they need to ask out of those 35 plus that you have.
You know, one of the things that I always like to touch on, I mean, it's always the number one question on a consumer's mind, whether they're buying or selling real estate, is how do real estate fees work? And so that is a loaded question, and Lord knows I can't answer it all right now. So, but from a buyer's side, you know, first-time buyers, they don't know. They don't know. Do I have to pay Justin to buy a house? Well, the reality is no. 99.9% of the time, the answer is no. There are certain circumstances, for example, if we go to a foreclosure auction, where the buyer is then responsible for our compensation package, right? And so obviously all of that's discussed right up front, and we come to an agreement on what it is and so on. Same thing goes for the sale side, the listing side, right? And you know, the old rule of thumb, so to speak, is that everything is negotiable, and that's true. And so when you're having a conversation with a real estate professional, make sure that you have a clear understanding of what their value proposition is, right? Because whenever, you know, it's been a long, long time since we've ever had a true conversation about, hey, will you reduce your commission? Right? And there are agents out there that are willing to work for less.
Which most of the time, if you're working for less, the service is going to equal.
Get what you pay for. Get what you pay for, right? And so again, having a clear understanding about your value proposition the agent's value proposition is vital to your success on the buyer or seller side.
And I think also on that note as well, finding out and understanding where really that money goes, because I know that most buyers and sellers just think that it is just directly to the realtor, but there's a lot of breaks and splits in that. Also, a lot of cost cost associated to actually running the business. Justin, thank you so much for coming back into studio and sharing just a few questions to ask. And again, if you want more information, you can always get a hold of Justin through the show, 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. Or you can go online to themoneyhour.com. You can hear this segment, connect with Justin, hear previous segments that he's had in studio. And thank you again, Justin.
Thanks, Tina. Appreciate it.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, what do you need to know about Medicare right now today? Sondra Earley with Mama's Associates right here at 1150 a.m. KKNW after this short break.
Are you turning 65, new to Medicare, or disabled? You probably have a lot of questions. I'm Sondra Earley, a trusted Medicare sales advisor. As a broker, I can provide a variety of Medicare plan options to fit your personal health care needs, lifestyle, and budget. I can help you get the quality coverage you want and the personal service you deserve. Call me at 425-455-1406, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to schedule an in-home appointment, a seminar, or phone consultation. I'll take the time to listen and truly understand your needs and the situation behind your questions. Call me at 425-455-1406, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
The University of Washington Parent-Child Study is looking for parents and their 8 to 11-year-old children to participate in a 3-hour research study examining how children learn to distinguish between what is safe and what is not safe. They're especially interested in how those processes differ in children of parents with and without post-traumatic stress disorder. Parents are compensated with up to $60, and all children are given a UW Child Scientist t-shirt. In addition, all parents receive a thorough psychiatric evaluation. For more information, please call Alyssa at 206-685-9043 or visit online parentchildstudy.com. That's 206-685-9043 or parentchildstudy.com.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 26th show. I'm here to help you build a strong financial blueprint, 1 week and 1 show at a time. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. Again, to ask any questions to my guest, suggestions on topics or anything regarding financing. Right now in studio, I have Sondra Earley with Mama's Associates and talking on Medicare, which it's great to have you back. Sondra, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Little background. Sondra has been in the insurance and benefits business for more than 15 years, predating and postdating the Affordable Health Care Act. So she brings historical perspective as well as new news. Sondra is a licensed broker specialized in commercial and Medicare insurance. Her office is located in downtown Bellevue, and the 2016 open enrollment for Medicare begins October 15th, right around the corner, and ends December 7th, 2016. For those turning 65 and the disabled, Sondra is here not a moment too soon, and will share with us how to navigate through the Medicare Open Enrollment maze. So let's go ahead and start out with, what is Medicare? Can you break it down for my listeners?
I can break it down. It's a real valuable protection against high medical costs.
Pretty simple. You want to pay less cost in your medical expenses. That's the reason that Medicare exists. So let's go ahead and talk about the A, B, C, and D's of Medicare.
Absolutely. So being that this insurance program has 50 million beneficiaries, it's the nation's largest health insurance. So I like to teach from a very basic standpoint from A, B, and C. So let's talk about what A, B is about.
Okay.
And then we'll fill in C and D.
Perfect.
So A and B, that's the original Medicare. Part A covers the hospital insurance portion. Part B covers the medical insurance portion.
Okay.
So if we want to know a little more education, you can always go to Medicare.gov and look it up for yourself. But let's talk about the A, B, and C. C goes to Med Advantage plan, and then there is a D. D is the prescription drug plan. Outside of that, there is a plan called the supplement plan, which most people talk about as the gap, but they think they're talking about all of Medicare. That is not what it is. It's a supplement plan that does something different.
Got it. And there's a cost associated to Medicare?
There's always a cost associated with Medicare.
Can you explain that to my listeners?
Sure. If you're 65 years of age or younger with a disability, you may have worked in the United States for at least 10 years, or they call 40 quarters.
Okay.
So you've already paid for Part A. Some people think it's free, but you are paying a premium.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Part B, that is $105.90 on average. You are always going to pay for that additional cost premium for Part B.
Got it.
If your income is much higher and there are certain levels, you may be charged more. Okay.
So really talking with you to find out where where those costs are.
Exactly.
Yes. So let's talk about what Medicare covers, Sondra.
Let's talk about what it covers. So in Part A, it's going to cover the inpatient care.
Okay.
It will cover the stay in a facility called a skilled nursing care facility, home health, and hospital care. If just a quick word about some things that it doesn't cover, deductibles. So there is a deductible associated with Part A. You will usually see that happen if you're in the hospital 1 to 60 days or longer. And those rates are always rising. So, I mean, I could give you an overview about what it is, but you'll pay the most if you're in hospital 1 through 60 days, and 61 through 90 days, the costs start to go down. So,
Sondra, my listeners, when should they be enrolling into a Medicare plan?
They should let's put it this way. So when their birthday comes up, you have 3 months before the birthday, 3 months after, and the month of your birthday. So there's a great picture I wish I could show you where the birthday cake sits, and those 3-month periods on either side. So it's a total of 7.
Okay.
When should you learn about Medicare? I think everybody gets something in the mail when they turn 50 years of age. It's called AARP. So that's a good time to start paying attention.
Got it.
Absolutely. But definitely, if you're 64 years of age and you're having a birthday very soon, you should start thinking about and preparing for enrolling.
To make sure that you're within that 7-month period.
That is correct.
Makes total sense. So what about your services? Sondra, what does it cost for if one of my listeners wanted to talk with you to get advice and to help through to get things set up for Medicare?
I'm a non-biased insurance agent, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. So there's no cost for what I do. The plan providers pay me a commission to actually do their marketing for them and their sales.
Sounded kind of like my position as a mortgage professional. Nobody, my clients are not paying for my services, but there is a commissions paid by the company, so that similar. Now, what about the initial consultation or appointment with you, Sondra? So no fee for that either?
No fee at all. So you're not paying me anything. If you write a check, you're going to write it to the healthcare provider, the insurance company, not to me. You can get in touch with me over the phone. I can give you over the phone consultation, one-on-one, whether that's in your home or at Starbucks or a location you're comfortable with. I also do seminars, group seminars. I try to keep it pretty small, not more than 10 people in my seminar at a time. Why? Because I like to work individually with people.
Nice.
And there's also seminars that are offered by some of the carriers, Regents, United Healthcare. I don't want to mention them all, but you know, they do have free seminars that you can attend in local libraries, senior centers. I'd advise people to learn wherever they can.
Sure. And what about your availability?
I'm available. I'd like to say 24/7, but
you got to sleep.
I got to sleep. And beginning October 1st, I can actually talk about plans for the 2016 year.
Okay.
I cannot write an application until October the 15th.
Got it.
Okay. So I'm available by phone. You can reach me through the radio station telephone number. However, you want to talk to me over email, and I will get back to you.
And Sondra, let's talk about retiring versus keep on working. Where is your advice there?
My advice is to, if you're currently working, check in with your employer. If your employer has 20 or more employees, then make sure that you understand what the employer benefits are covering.
Okay.
If the employer has 20 or fewer than 20, you may be required to sign up for Medicare Part A and B. I'd suggest that if you are 65 or turning 65, you contact a local Social Security officer and sign up anyway for Part B, because you will be required to be enrolled in A and B before you can sign up for Medicare.
Got it. And what about additional insurance on top of Medicare? Is that, can you do that?
Well, I suppose you can. I don't advise it.
Okay.
Because, as you know, as soon as we reach the age between 55 and 60, our premiums go skyrocketing.
Yes.
So you're not going to find the same level. The premium rates are going to come down when you're on Medicare.
Okay, got it. And what about weaknesses with Medicare? If you had to come up with some of the biggest weakness, what would that be?
Well, I think the biggest weakness today is that we're not totally providing enough education for Medicare, not to our 64 plus prospects or to their children. So that's a big factor as well. So it is a maze. It is not simple. It is not easy. And it isn't free. So you have to really sit down. I suggest sitting down with a professional that can guide you through the ABCs and the maze and figure out what it costs in terms of what is your out-of-pocket outlay, what are your premiums, and what your needs are. I always start from the needs assessment level. What is it that you really need? What are we trying to do here? Are we wed to the doctor, to the pharmacy in some cases, and what is your Medicare, what is your prescription drug plan look like?
Yes.
And then we take it step by step. Even if you can't afford it, there are help plans out there, low-income subsidies, Social Security programs that can help you with your Medicare medical costs.
So again, it's just sitting down again in another area with an expert and really finding out what your personal needs are, and then structuring a plan around you and what's going to best suit you.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about new things that are happening with Medicare? What are they?
In the cloud bubble, I would say, of ideas, we should be paying attention now to the changes, because if you currently are a Medicare enroller right now for 2015, when we start looking forward for 2016, there are changes to the plan. Some plans have fairly large networks of physicians that are in the network. Some are shrinking. So it's a good time to mark your calendar, October 15th through December 7th, to take a look at and evaluate what your plan is for 2015 and where you want to go for 2016.
So where are you seeing that people make the biggest mistakes themselves when it comes to Medicare? I mean, obviously not having, being educated, you're at risk of making some big mistakes. What do you see those are?
I think the individual should always check in with their physician as well, because a physician has to contract with Medicare, and they may be moving in and out of the network. So that's the first thing I would say.
Okay.
That's a consideration. Also looking at certain things about your health plan, what you know about, say, your gene code.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have or do you know that you might be susceptible to high blood pressure or some other type of disease? Just taking things into consideration, having that discussion with yourself, and then going forward with your professional.
Makes total sense. Any other advice that you have for my listeners, Sondra, when it comes to Medicare?
Call early. Plan with the end in mind.
Yes.
And make sure that you are totally equipped as much as you can be to navigate the maze.
Makes total sense. So you heard it from Sondra. It's like all the other guests. It's all about preparation. It's about hiring and talking with an expert and determining that really you're making the best decisions for you. And again, as I said early in the show, for your family. And that's what the show's about. Sondra, thank you again for coming into studio. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
My pleasure.
And providing the wealth of information that you have for my listeners.
Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate you.
And that's it. That's the show, you guys. Thanks for joining me. This is your mortgage expert and show host, Tina Mitchell. I'm going to sign off for the day, but I will be back next weekend, same time, same place, right here at 1150 AM KKNW. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
The preceding program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit absoluteloans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.